What's up, everybody? This is Evan for grips.com, and today I'm going to be reviewing some hands from the Party Poker Betfair and then Return to Party Poker Bankroll Challenge, where I took an initial bankroll of $100 and ran it up to 10K. The total challenge took about probably 100,000 hands, and a lot of you guys who watched saw a lot of live play. Now, the hands that I played on Party Poker, I did record every session that was played, but I think that to cover the footage would be a bit difficult. Most of the sessions were played anywhere from 9 to 15 tabling on my laptop, so there's a lot of overlap and a lot of popping up going on, so I just don't know how easy it would be for a viewer to follow that kind of action. And given my feedback in previous videos that a lot of people said, even 6 tables is too many and 12 tables is definitely too many, I think that a more prudent thing to do would be to review the key hands that happen during this bankroll challenge and talk to you guys about concepts that you can use in your play. It's not always just about watching someone play a session and trying to emulate their every move, because a lot of mistakes are going to be made. But to look at hands after the fact, learn concepts and be able to apply them in your game, I think is a lot more beneficial. This way you can think about one hand at a time rather than being overwhelmed by a ton of action. And this way I think it's going to be more easy for you guys to process the information and be able to, again, apply it and see results. So this is a test run and I will appreciate feedback. But for the first video, I'm going to look at the top 5 biggest pots that were played during the bankroll challenge. And pretty much once I moved the challenge back to Party Poker and I took the roll from $1,000 up to just over 10, I think like 10.8, pretty much all hands were played at 100 NL. There were a few at 200 NL and a couple at 400 NL, but pretty much all the hands that will be reviewed will be from 100 NL, since I played about 50K hands there. Anyway, let's get right into the action. And the first concept for big pot number 1 is that of not scaring out your opponents. So as you can see, we have pocket sixes. Oh, and just to forewarn you guys, the games on Party Poker were very good, extremely good, and you are going to see some crazy shit. So just don't be surprised. And anyone who's looking for good action, I highly recommend Party Poker or bwin. And if you would like to try out the site, please use the sign up link below the video, just so I can get credit for hooking you guys up. Anyway, let's get into the hands. Pocket 6 is under the gun. We open for a 3x raise, nothing out of the ordinary there, and receive 2 callers. Now, both these players were playing very loose, which you will soon see. Now, when we flop a full house with 15 times the pot remaining, there's 10 in the middle and about 150 in stacks behind, we want to start building that pot, and we want to start doing that early. So when it's checked to me, I'm definitely going to c-bet to start building that pot. Now, given that I have such a lock on the hand, I don't need to bet that big. Also, given that these guys are playing really loose and willing to peel wide, when I have such a lock, I want to bet in such a fashion that encourages them to continue with as many hands as possible. So I bet 40% pot and they both call. Turn, it's pretty irrelevant card. The only draws I'm looking at are the flush draw and the heart draw. Although I expect my opponents to peel pretty wide, I don't expect them to peel with like random 2 over cards in this situation. So the 9 is pretty much a brick, and we're going to continue with our plan of building the pot so that we will hopefully be able to get all in by the river. Now, with the amount of stack behind, even if I go pot, it's still going to be pretty hard to get all the money in. So I went with a size that, again, encouraged them to continue with a wide range. Also, I didn't want to scare out any draws since I have them drawing dead. And my hope would be to get my opponents to complete their hand if they have a draw, such that I can, well, hopefully stack them. So I bet 12, get a call, and now we get a check raise from Robson. And this is where the important part of the hand comes in, because we have 2 options. The first is to go all in, and the second is to call. Now, when Robson check raises the turn, I think it's pretty unlikely that he's bluffing, so he probably is going to have a 3 in this situation mostly. He can also have pocket 9s. But either way, I should be able to stack those hands. And if he's got me cooler, he's going to get my money anyway. Now, the worry is, if I just call and an action-killing card comes off on the river, then I may not get his whole stack. So there is some argument to say, well, you should probably just re-raise and get all the money in. Now, if this were a heads-up pot, I think that's what I would do. But given that we have a third player behind who's just going with the passive option of calling, there's a decent chance that this opponent has a draw. And we don't want to shut out a draw by going all in, so we want to invite him in. So I opt to just call to give Maja a chance to improve if he has said draw. If the draw hits, I get Maja's money. If the draw bricks, I get Robson's money. So either way, I'm getting someone's money. And I do possibly have a chance at getting both their money. Fortunately, the river is another heart, and Robson, since he's just straight up bad, goes all in anyway. The river plays pretty easy. I call, Maja calls. Robson has the 3, and Maja has the flush. Now, I am able to get maximum value on this hand because I didn't shut Maja out of the pot. Not that he would necessarily fold a top pair with a flush draw. These players are pretty bad. But I just wanted to give myself the best opportunity at getting his money, and I thought the best way to do that was to simply call the turn check raise, give him a good price on his money, because if he thinks his flush draw is live, he's getting the right price, and we knew that it wasn't. And yeah, Robson, he had trips. He didn't care that the river was a heart and that pretty much any 3 beats him. Yeah, action's good at party poker. All right, on to hand number 2, and the concept here is that of whether you want to keep in your opponents when you have a draw or shut them out. So we have a limp. We raise it up to 3 times the big blind with Jack 10 suited. I think 4x would be the standard play, but since this opponent has a shorter stack than usual, 3x is fine. And we see a 5-way flop. Decent flop for us, open-ended straight draw. There's a lead and a call. Now, options are to raise or to call. We're getting great odds, so that's good merit for calling. As you can see in the top left corner, we're getting the pot odds we need. Now, if we think that our overcards are live, we may want to, raise and just run the deck out. But I think with a draw this strong, we want to encourage weaker draws to stick around. Whereas if we just had like a 10-6 or something, we might want to try to shut the other draws out of the pot. Always remember, when you have a very strong draw, you want to have as many opponents in as possible so that they can maybe improve their hand with lesser draws and give you a lot of money drawing dead. So I just opt to call, and somehow everyone calls and we get a raise to 24. And yeah, again, this is why I'm telling you guys, party poker is where it's at. Everyone calls. We're in the same situation where we could shove to shut everyone else out, but I don't really think anyone's necessarily going to fold once they put in this much. So I just opt to call, and yeah, turn is a brick. So based on the bet sizing of our opponents, we may continue. If we're getting the right price based on pot odds and implied odds, we would continue. If the price is too big, like if TC went all in and Dreda folded, then we'd probably have to fold. But somehow the turn gets checked through. And with my draw here, I don't want to bet. Yes, with 3 opponents, I guess technically I would be getting decent odds on my money to build the pot. But by betting out, I reopen the betting and risk getting blown off my hand or forced to put in all my money with Jack high. I'd much rather just see the river for free, if possible, or check call a bet from the player on the button. Fishy. We river the super nuts, and Dreda goes pretty much all in. And I think if anyone has a 10, they're going to call whether I go all in or just call, but they aren't guaranteed to raise. So I'm hoping that I shoved here, and I did. And I get a call from Fishy, TC folds and Dreda calls. You're probably going to be a little surprised at what they have. Dreda has river 2 pair, which I think his flop play was fine. Don't really know what he's doing on the river. I don't know if he knows what he's doing on the river either. Fishy has the 10, so his river plays fine, but kind of what the hell is he doing on the flop? And this is why I just called the raise on the flop rather than re-raising. I want to keep hands like this in play when I have such a strong draw. And Philly has kings. Unlucky board run out, but his equity really wasn't all that good. And you're probably asking why the hell Philly didn't just go all in pre-flop, and I really could not tell you the answer to that question. So we skip that one. Pretty big pot. Hand number 3, the concept is not being scared versus a fish. The player in question here, Major Lassie, was 3-bet. He was playing like 78, 50 with a 3-bet of like 33. So if you guys go in Poker Stove and see what a range of 33% looks like, you'll see that queens are in pretty good shape against them. And so even though I'm 200 big blinds deep with this player, when I get dealt this premium of a hand and he's playing so loose and ridiculous, my goal is to try to get as much money in as possible, as quickly as possible, and pretty much never throw the hand away no matter what happens. So facing a 3-bet to 5, I definitely want a 4-bet. And this guy wasn't really folding to 4-bets, so I wanted to size it on the larger side. So I make it 22, and he brings it back up to 39, a min re-raise. Now, again, some players we may be concerned with the 5-bet, but this guy was just legit fucking crazy. Kind of like when you're playing with the drunk players on a Friday night. So I was saying, let's get some more money in. I knew that he was willing to call a lot of re-raises, but I knew the 1-bet he might be afraid of was all in. So I went with a decent scale in here. I think I probably could have gone even bigger, but I went for 86 just to make sure I didn't lose him. I was giving him such a ridiculous price that he had to call, and there was going to be so much in the middle that he probably couldn't fold any hand on any board. He calls. Flop is, not the best in a regular 6-bet pot. But this guy was fucking crazy, so I wasn't too concerned. I also had recognized that he liked to take stabs at pots, so I opted for a check raise. And he obliged, not exactly what I wanted to see, a $1 bet, but hey, I'll take it. I have to build this pot, so I check raise to 35. He calls, and the turn is a 5, and I'm all in. I didn't go all in. I guess I wanted to let him think that maybe he could fold me out with a raise. I just wanted him to see that raising was an option instead of calling, which he took, and I called. And I remember seeing this river and just being like, fuck. I don't know what the hell he has, but on that particular river, he must have got me because the king's there, the ace is there, and the 3's there. And somehow the pot got shipped to me. 10-4, good buddy. We'll take the 400 big blind pot. With these crazy players who are just playing ridiculous, you just can't give them credit for having a hand. If he wakes up with kings or aces when he's playing such a ridiculous style, that is a super, super cooler, and even though it's for 200 big blinds, it doesn't matter. Because most of the time, they're going to be showing up with this crap 10-4 suited. When the wasted guy is ready to play a big pot and you have a big hand, just get the money in and don't be scared. Even if he beats you, he's probably going to keep playing so bad that you'll be able to get the money back in no time flat. All right, King Queen concept here. Not slow playing and getting max value when you are confident in your hand strength. We get 3 limps. And I decide to check my option. Raising to build a pot is definitely an option. King Queen's a pretty strong hand. But I just decided to go with the low variance route and flop trips. I lead out because I need to build this pot, same as in hand number 1. When you have a big hand, you don't want to slow play because if the pot's smaller, it's hard to get your opponents to call big bets on later streets. So you want to start building the pots early so your opponents feel more committed to the pot and are more willing to call the big bets on later streets. I get min raised and called, and I figure Ashim has a king most likely to do this min raise, which I would expect him to bet on the turn. I don't want to re-raise here and reveal the strength of my hand, especially if this guy's a poor hand reader. I want him to maybe think I have a flush draw, and instead of, if I 3-bet here, he's probably just going to call the turn, but if I call here, he will have the betting lead, and I can check raise on the turn and build the pot much more effectively than I could with flop re-raise. So I just call. Turn is an 8, and sure enough, he bets the turn. And at this point, I have to spring a decent-sized raise. Let's see, we have about, if I call, there's going to be 40 in the middle, and we still have 150. I would hope I make it like 35 here, maybe even bigger. No, went on the small side. And he gives me another re-raise. And it's a point where, again, against some players, you're going to be concerned that maybe he has deuces full, or king deuce, or king 8. Can't really have pocket 8s. He's pretty unlikely to have pocket 8s. But as I was saying, these games on Party Poker are just so fucking ridiculous that I just said, you know what? I have trips with a really good kicker. This guy's going to be willing to get it in with worse kings, and there are a lot more worse kings than there are better kings. So I'm not going to be worried with this hand. I am not sure what I did, but if I'm confident in my hand strength, I probably should re-raise, and I do. I don't quite put them all in, just in case. Like, I know that you guys are thinking there's no way this guy could think he has room to be bluffing and re-bluffing, but you wouldn't understand how bad the players were playing in these games. So he may be able to re-bluff. I think there's very, 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 very almost a non-existent chance he's bluffing, but just in case, I wanted to give him a little bit of room. He calls. The river is a queen, making me obviously 100% confident in my hand, but the play was going to be the same regardless. Move all in on the river. He calls, and as you can see, trips, worst kicker. And I don't know how the other guy's in there with queen 9, but yeah, we'll take the extra 20, no problem. Okay, hand number 5. Concept here is not scaring out your opponents and keeping bluffs in, and also the importance of pre-flop sizing. Because you can see in this hand, we're about 180 big blinds deep, and fringe 3-bets me just more than minimum, from 3 to 7. I'm not going to fold any hand for this price. Any hand. 7-2 offsuit against a player like this, I would call. He wasn't 3-betting very much, which is indicative that he probably has a strong hand here, and my implied odds are fucking insane. I'm calling 4 for 11 immediate plus the 180 behind. So I call and flop decent. Top pair with a backdoor flush draw. I'm obviously not willing to just stack off because I flop top pair and it's a 3-bet pot. There's still a lot of money left behind to play. And my opponent's range for 3-barreling on this board probably consists of mainly stronger hands than my ace-10. Now that being said, I'm not folding just yet. We're going to have to get through the hand and evaluate what's going on. So he bets pretty big, which makes me think he probably has a pretty strong hand. I think his 3-betting range is probably like jacks plus and ace-king, and I don't know that he would bet that big with the weaker part of his range. Now, if he does have jacks plus, I mean, if he has jacks through kings, he's probably just going to bet once and shut down, so I can call 1 bet and then, you know, check back turn. Maybe go for thin value on river. Not really sure if there's any point against this guy. And if he has ace-king, he'll continue to bet. So my plan is to call once, and then based on what turns come off, if he keeps hammering really hard, I probably would release my hand. Unless the turn is a diamond or a 10. Which it is. So he bets again on the larger side, and this is where I don't want to betray the strength of my hand. Although it's pretty unlikely that he would ever fold top pair good kicker in a 3-bet pot, like if he has ace-queen or even somehow ace-jack, but most likely ace-king. It's going to be pretty hard for him to fold if I shove, but I don't want to give him the opportunity. Because if I shove here, you know, what kind of weak hands can I really have? And if he has one pair, he might actually think about it. He might consider folding. Also, on the outside chance that he somehow has a random bluff, he's going to have a pot size bet on the river. Great amount to be bluffing. And I want to give him that opportunity. If I raise here and he somehow has air, he no longer has the option to bluff the river. And that's some free money I'm giving away. So, for those reasons, I just call. The river is, for all intents and purposes, a brick. And when he moves all in, it's a pretty easy call. And he rolls over ace king. Now, for him to go bet, bet, bet on the flop when he flops top pair, top kicker, and a 3-bet pot, I mean, it's understandable. But his huge mistake was sizing it so small pre-flop and then just, you know, having no regard for sizing or anything. He's just like, I got top and a 3-bet pot. I don't care that I'm 180 big blinds deep. I'm going to find a way to get all the money in. And put a lot of money in very poorly there. Very major error. So that's the 5th hand. But, and I hope you guys, you know, learn from those concepts that were discussed in those hands. The main thing with these big pots, obviously, for the most part, they're going to be coolers. Overall, the hands I played, the biggest ones, it makes sense that they would be coolers for the most part. But there are still some major errors that were made by my opponents that I was able to capitalize on, which really helped for the speediness of the completion of the Bankroll challenge. So I hope you guys found that beneficial and useful and can apply some of those concepts to your own game, and maybe it gets you thinking. And as I said before, if you guys want to try to get in these really good games, these juicy party poker games, please use the link below the video to sign up. I really appreciate it. And as always, I would like your guys' comments and feedback, thoughts about these hands, thoughts about some similar hands maybe you guys got into. But before I leave you guys, since you guys have been wanting Bankroll challenge stuff forever and I've been keeping you waiting, we've been so busy with Project Get Me Stacked that I almost forgot about the Bankroll challenge. Well, I want to give you guys one more hand. It's going to be a bonus hand, and it's really, I mean, I'm going to show you guys on this hand why I really would encourage you to try party poker if you have the ability to. If you're from the States, I'm sorry, you're missing out on this action. But if you live in a country where you can play on party poker, I would really encourage checking it out. And here is why. So, Ace Jack suited. The villain in this hand is Art Censor. We are 180 big blinds deep, and like our buddy 10-4 suited, this guy was 3-betting at a very high clip. So I decided to min raise because this guy was just playing so crazy, and I wanted to give myself the maximum room to be able to call a 3-bet and have a lot more stack behind with which to play, so that I would be, you know, making a smaller error pre-flop if I'm calling a 3-bet with the worst hand, which I can then make up for post-flop because I'm getting better odds on the money I put in. So we got a raise and a call, and he 3-bets to 24. Pretty large 3-bet, and you know, I'm patting myself on the back for making it min instead of 3x, because if I made it 3x, he might have made it 36. And against this particular player who was so ridiculous, I probably still would call. But, you know, if he happens to have a better hand this time, I'm making a larger error when I'm calling that bigger 3-bet. So, yeah. Proceed by calling. 4-betting, this guy wasn't like 5-betting all in. I know sometimes you find those players who are willing to just like literally get in any 2 cards pre-flop. And against those guys, yeah, you might want to go with it here with your ace-jack. But I felt this guy he was 3-betting with a really wide range and then barreling off like crazy post-flop. So I was going to try to hit a flop, see if I could catch a good piece, you know, go with it on ace or jack high boards, flush draw boards. And if it came, you know, like king rag, I'd just throw it away and wait for the next opportunity to grab him. Because if he's 3-betting at 33%, I'm going to have a lot of opportunities to play 3-bet pots with him. So I call. Joseph folds, and on the Jack 9-8 board, he goes all in. So, I mean, sure, he shoved 3x pot, and some nittier opponents will only have aces and kings here. But, yeah, these players, these games, they're just ridiculous. So there was no way I was ever folding this hand on this flop against this player. So call with ace jack, and he showed up with 9-3 suited. And if that's not enough reason for you to check out Party Poker and see if you can get in these games, then I don't know what more I can do. But I hope that you will experience the same good fortune that I did when I came back to play on Party Poker. And I hope that you learned some stuff from this video. Again, one more time, the link for Party is below the video, and I really appreciate if you can give me the referral. I will be continuing with the Bankroll Challenge review. I think maybe next episode I'll do the top 5 biggest pots I lost, and then we'll get into some more specific stuff like 3-bet pots, over pairs, how to play sets, how to play ace king, just like a bunch of stuff that happened during the Bankroll Challenge, since it was a large sample of hands, and hopefully we can cover a lot of stuff and give you guys a lot of benefit. Please give me feedback. Let me know how you feel about this review style video. I think this is the first hand history review I've done. Mostly it's been live play and seminars, and I'd like to know how you guys feel about this style of video as opposed to the other styles of video, because we're just going to keep on trying different styles of video until we have all the ones that you guys really, really like, and then I will focus on making those ones at a much higher volume and the less favored ones at a lower volume. So, yep, that's going to wrap it up. This has been evan4grips.com, and yeah, that's it for me. Now it's your turn. Take this knowledge, go out there, get stacking.